I think the only game left for us to play is to choose ourselves in the future of work. Now, what do I mean by that? I think we're seeing a lot of stuff happening in the media talking about how AI, LLMs are going to take away all jobs, right? And we're seeing an incredible amount of creators, incredible amount of white collar work, incredible amount of entry level jobs all being taken away by artificial intelligence. And to be fair, and I can make a whole video about this, it isn't actually intelligent. It's actually just a large language model which has a very specific use case, and we're already seeing the fallout from that, right? We're seeing companies like Klarna, who fired the genius CEO of that company, fired 700 good people because it thought that AI could replace all of these 700 good people. And then literally a year later, or even less than a year later, he's deciding to hire all those people again because AI, quote unquote AI, couldn't actually do that work at all. AI is not ready, but it doesn't quite matter for the sake of this video, because the fact is business leaders, and I use the word leaders again very, very loosely, they are making the decision that we're going to use this thing, this hot new thing called quote unquote AI in everything. And we're going to use it to drive down costs. We're going to use it to cut people out. We're going to use it to just grow to please who exactly? Shareholders, whoever it might be. But that's what they're here to do. And I'm here to tell you that, for us to actually make it through the other side, you and me, common people, I think we're going to need a different playbook, especially if you're just coming out of college. Maybe you're mid-career and you're figuring out, well, what is the next thing that I'm supposed to do with my career, with my work? One of the options you can do is go take night classes, go get more certifications, go get more of this, go get more of that. And that's the path of increasing your skill set. And you think that, well, if you just have the right degree from the right company, if you just go to the right school, if you just kind of upskill your technical abilities, you're going to be okay. But we're noticing that's not actually happening as well either. You can go to Harvard, you can go to Harvard Business School, get an MBA, and you will still get laid off. That's the unfortunate reality of where we're living right now. And so is the option to throw it all away? I think the real option is that we start choosing our work as an artist. We choose what we tend to do in a series of projects, not to identify ourselves with it. Now, what do I mean by projects? Right? I think projects is a very different way of thinking about career. You think about careers usually by the job and the job titles you have. I'm a business analyst, I'm a data scientist, I'm a this, I'm a that. And so you go to a company, and the company is the one who gives you a project that, hey, go do X, Y, Z, or here's a system, here's something that we've already figured out. Go out there and maintain it. But I'm here to say that I think we're transitioning to a very different type of economy where you and I will need to create projects, things that we really care about, and we're the ones who are going to need to set the boundaries of it, the beginning, middle, and end of it. We need to define what it consists of, and then go out there and actually create it and put it out there for people to consume, for people's lives to be changed. And what is fueling these projects? Things that actually you are good at, things that actually move you, things that actually you care about, right? If there's a problem that you have overcome, you can create a project around building some sort of asset, whether it be an ebook, whether it be a course, or it might be something else entirely. It might be an in-person thing. It might be a service, right? And the project-based way of thinking helps us get out of this mindset of competition. I'm here to compete for this person's attention. I'm here to commodify myself as much as possible. A project tells you, hey, what are you actually interested in? What is something that you can make a connection with, where you can use your skills, where you can use your abilities to create something that can serve others, right? And the beautiful thing about projects is that you are creating something external. You're creating a process. You're creating an asset that you can plug and play into continuously. You can hire other people to play out parts of this process in building this project altogether. And that means freedom, right? That means freedom. Because in a job, you create a project and you're giving that asset, the thing that you're building, to someone else. But in the future of work, where you and I are creating individual projects, we can create something and it can serve us. It can serve us continuously. It can serve us 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the line. And that's the beautiful thing about trying to live our lives out in the series of projects. Because let's face it, right? A lot of us have many different interests. Our curiosity takes us down multiple different routes. And the only way that we can actually use that to serve us is to embrace this project-based identity, where you're not drawn to the thing you created, right? Like maybe you created a course, maybe you created an ebook, and you let it out there, but that book is not you. That book is something that exists apart from you, and it's going to be out there and help people. Maybe you have created a course and you have trained a bunch of people to deliver that course continuously. That's something that exists outside of you, and in some ways that's a lot more generous than taking on the identity and being the person who does the thing every single time. But of course, if you are an employee, if the only identity you've been given so far is to think that you are your job title, this way of thinking is quite different. What are we taught? Of course, we're taught to wrap up our identities in our work, in our job titles, right? And this suits people, our employers, really, really, really well, because what do you do, especially in North America, when you meet someone new for the first time? They ask you, what do you do? So what do you do for work, right? And that's supposed to be a very safe question. I've spoken in the past about the problem I have with the word business, right? It adds a level of formality which prevents so many of us from doing the work. That prevents so many of us from actually creating something, building the boundaries around it, and putting it out there into the world and actually helping people. The word business comes with a lot of baggage. It comes with a lot of ideas about, well, this is the only way for me to do business. And if you haven't watched that video, check it out before, where it goes into this whole idea of like, not being tied to the idea of being a quote unquote business person, but really thinking of yourself as someone who's doing projects instead. You create something, you get it out there. And maybe you might not make money out of it, and that's totally fine, right? Because it's okay to create something and have it be a complete dud, because you learn something in the process of creating it. That's the other problem I have with this business-based way of thinking, which commodifies and makes us want to view every single thing we create from the lens of, can I make money out of it? And you might not even know what you might make money out of, right? You have to actually just go out there and create the thing, and then you'll start to find that, this actually turned out to be quite interesting. A lot of people are really connected with this, or a lot of people really resonated with this. And that's the core difference between sort of the project-based way of thinking and the business-based way of thinking. Corporations, large corporations often say that their employees are their biggest assets. But of course, once the asset is not usable for a quarter, for a month, then you dispose of those assets, right? And we're seeing this happen across America, really across the world, right? Where as soon as someone's utility is used up, as soon as all of the effort that they're able to give is squeezed out, they're discarded, they're thrown away. So all of these different ways of doing business no longer serve us. But I think if you are a project maker, if you are someone who's out there who takes his or her curiosity and creates something meaningful, something interesting, something that actually helps people, you don't have to do business that way. And I'm here to tell you that we need millions of people doing business in their own unique individual way. We need millions of people who are doing business or creating projects in a way that feels better, in a way that challenges the status quo, in a way that isn't taught in business school, in a way that it's not taught or written about by the McKinsey, Bains, and BCGs of the world that tell you that here is the best practice, right? You want to do ABC, you want to set up a corporation, this is the best practice. This project-based way of thinking gives us a blank slate to pause and say, you know what? Let me choose what I want to do. Let me choose how I want to interact, how I want to show up, how I want to be with other people, how I want to treat and serve myself and other people. That is the incredible thing about a project-based way of doing things. And I urge you to start thinking along these lines, because this is going to be the only game left in town. I sort of talked about this at the beginning of this video, but there are so many changes happening, and the real impetus in our economy is that these CEOs are going to continue chasing endless growth, right? Because that's all they're sort of mandated to do. You have to continuously show your shareholders that you're growing continuously. But of course, we know that nature does not live up to that, right? In nature, everything kind of, you plant the seed, the thing blossoms, and eventually it shrivels and dies, right? That is all of life, that is all of nature. And yet these businesses, with the mandate they have from their shareholders, especially in public corporations, they're in this endless path of growth. And to fill this void of endless growth, they're going to do things like displace people. They're going to do things like get rid of massive amounts of people. They're going to implement LLMs into their workforce, thinking mistakenly that it's going to actually do the same type of work that humans can do, but even though it won't. But because it's going to show that the company's growing, that it's cutting out costs, it's trying to drive new sources of revenue. Look at the incredible investment that the CEO made in AI. Even though it might backfire completely, like what happened with Klarna just a year after it fired 700 people. So if you and I want to save ourselves, if you and I want to create a sense of sanity for ourselves, to create a safety net for ourselves, I think this is the only game left to play in town. Because a lot of people will say, well, this doesn't sound like a very safe way of living out your life. And I'm here to tell you that I think what is comfortable and that which is safe are now two different things, right? Because we were taught that, well, that which makes us safe is also the thing that's going to be comfortable, and it's all going to work out. Just get a job, get your W-2, and move on with your life. But we're finding out that that's not the safe zone. The comfort zone and safety zone are two different things altogether. And so we now have to start going to the safety zone, and that safety zone is a future where you and I are creating these projects, right? A project can take a week to execute, the project can take a month or 6 months to execute, but we can set these boundaries ourselves and actually go out there and get it done. I want to give credit to Seth Godin for this idea because I've been embracing it a lot more myself, and it's helping me kind of no longer think of myself as just a freelancer who goes out there and trades time for money, and as someone who now takes the expertise, takes the knowledge that I have, takes the interests and curiosities that I have, and finds a way to create something around it and build an asset, build something tangible and concrete that I can give to other people. That has changed so much inside of me. I've been able to create, I've been able to launch projects, I've been able to hopefully build multiple income streams out of it, right? Because that is really, really powerful. So if I were to sum this up, I'll tell you this, stop worrying about AI replacing your job, because it's eventually going to come. It's going to come for all of us. It's going to come for people starting out in their careers. It's going to come from people in the middle of the careers all the way to the top, right? It's going to happen. Even though it's imperfect, even though it isn't actually intelligent in any way, there's no such thing as artificial intelligence. It's coming our way. And so the only game that we have left to play in town is building our own projects. And we can create it, we can follow our curiosities, we can make life a lot more interesting, we can be a lot more safer with building these projects, and we can use these platforms, all these different tools that tends to commodify us, and actually use that as a way to build our profile, as a way to draw people to us. One of the challenges I've always had is LinkedIn. I hate sort of posting on LinkedIn because I find that so much of what's on LinkedIn is performative in nature, right? Everyone's sort of patting themselves in the back, virtue signaling, all that kind of stuff. And I found it to be a very insincere place. But I'm now thinking of posting on LinkedIn as a way to draw people into my sphere. I want to take people out of LinkedIn and I want to bring them into my universe of a much more authentic, much more real place to be at. So use these platforms, use these tools, all these tools in the quote-unquote creator economy to actually bring people back to you and show your true authentic selves, show your variety of interests and curiosities, and actually help people with all these different projects that you're going to be building. And the last thing I want to say is that you might think, well, we can't have a million people all talking about weight loss. We can't have a million people talking about team building and leadership. Well, I got two answers for that. Number one, there's nothing new under the sun, right? 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, there was a need for people to help others build teams. There was a need for people to tell them how to lead. There was a need for people to help them with weight loss. And but maybe not 1,000 years ago, where food was maybe a lot more scarce, but certainly it'll be useful in 1,000 years from now, when people are going to need help with weight loss. But the point being that there's nothing new under the sun, and so you can take the same ideas and remix it in some ways and make it your own and share your own personal story, because what people actually want is that personal story. They want that personal connection. That is the true new edge. I talked about this, that one of our skill sets is going to be how do we build relationships online and in person rapidly with people that need us, that need these projects to improve their lives. And so you can have a million people talking about weight loss and fitness and all those sorts of things, and it's completely fine, because there can't just be one single player, right? That's again the corporate way of thinking, that one large company takes the lion's share of all that's out there. All of us can play this game, and we can create our own space, and we can help people in our own different ways. And the second thing that you might be thinking about is that, well, what's unique about me? And I sort of answered that, and I'm going to link to a video up here somewhere which goes into this idea in a lot more detail. But it's okay. It's okay for you to have your own personal spin, and that's all that you need to do in order to create something worthwhile. So I hope you found this video useful. This is a step into entrepreneurship, a step into choosing yourself. And if you have any questions about how you can step into this, if you'd like to talk about this yourself with me, maybe it's something you're noodling on, something that you feel stuck on, or you have a vision but you can't quite articulate it, reach out to me. I'd love to help you out personally, or just through your comments below. Thanks a lot. Take care.